Good evening and welcome to Candidates Night, presented by the Juno Beach Civic Association. The Juno Beach Civic Association is an all-volunteer, nonpartisan, nonprofit association dedicated to enhancing the quality of life in Juno Beach. Through our memberships, our corporate sponsorships, and your participation in events like these, we are able to fund the work of the association. If you're not a member, we would encourage you to join. For more information on that, visit our website at www.junobeachcivic.org or contact Donna Hamilton, Jerry Glynn, Ann O'Shea, or any of the other board members for more information. First, and on behalf of the Civic Association, we would like to thank each and every one of you, attendees and candidates alike, for participating in tonight's event. Candidates Night is a special event. We've been bringing it to the citizens of Juno Beach for over 35 years. It's an opportunity for the voters of Juno Beach to evaluate the candidates for town council in an open and neutral public forum. As you can see, and out of an abundance of caution, tonight will be slightly different as we present the event using a virtual Zoom webinar format. Our producer and our Zoom coordinator who is managing tonight's event is Eric Rucker. Eric has a few housekeeping rules to share with you so that we can promote and facilitate a smooth and orderly event. Eric?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Thank you, Chris. Just the biggest reminder I would like to keep in everybody's mind is that we are all on individual internet connections, and sometimes things happen. Attendees, if for some reason you get dropped from the Zoom account, feel free just to log back in. Also, this video will be made public. We are recording tonight's event, so you will get more specifics on how to rewatch this event at a later time if you wish. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Eric. And now we are truly privileged to welcome back Roger Buckwalter as tonight's moderator. Roger is no stranger to the town or its history. He moved to Juno Beach on the day of its founding on June the 1st, 1953. His father served as vice mayor on the town council. Roger served as a U.S. Army lieutenant in Vietnam and returned home to embark on a distinguished 30-year career in journalism, culminating in his role as editor of the Jupiter Courier. His list of volunteer service is far too long to list here, but suffice to say that we are once again truly privileged to have him presiding over tonight's proceedings. So, without further ado, let's welcome Roger Buckwalter to kick off tonight's event. Roger?
Well, thank you very much, Chris, for those kind words. I appreciate that. And I also want to say good evening and welcome you all to this forum on Zoom, which features the candidates in the Juno Beach Town Council election on March 9th. The candidates are, for seat 2, Stuart Katz and Elaine Kotranakis. For seat 4, Dee Dee Halpern, Diana Davis, and Alexander Cook. The rules of this forum are as follows. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. After these statements, we will pose the questions that residents have submitted online. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to respond to each question, and I will rotate the order of the responses. To allow time for as many questions as possible, I ask the candidates to be brief in their answers and limit themselves to 1 minute each. After this portion of the forum, the candidates will each have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. The opening statements will be made in alphabetical order, and the closing statements will be made in the reverse order. So now we begin with our opening statements. First one will be from Alexander Cook, running for seat 4, 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My family and I are very excited to be a part of this. So I am Alexander R. Cook. I'm running for seat 4. I'm originally from Connecticut. We have been in the South Florida area, Juno Beach specifically, for 4 years now. We have wanted to be here most of our lives. My wife grew up in South Florida, and she is an avid surfer when she was younger, and as a teenager spent her opportunities surfing in the Juno Beach area. I am from Southport, Connecticut originally. I went to Fairfield University in Fairfield, Connecticut. I have worked my way through college. Among everything else, I didn't take vacations or spring break. I worked all the way through in order to fund my school. With that, I have a finance and accounting degree from Fairfield University. I also have a very extensive technology background. I ran all the computer labs for the school, and I built my first computer when I was 10 years old. So currently am the managing director and founder of Optimus Capital, which is a wealth management firm. It's institutional. It's based in Palm Beach Gardens. I have an office in Los Angeles. We run assets for corporations, private clients, and pension plans. I'm originally a bond trader. I traded fixed income for the first few years of my career. Then I got convinced to come over to the management side, and I've managed assets for politically affiliated individuals and relatively well-known individuals around the country. I ran the West Coast of the US for my previous firm. That's where my son was born. We spent about 10 years out there, and through unique circumstances and events, we were lucky enough to be able to move here to Juno Beach, spin out Optimus Capital, which was a hedge fund that I owned previously, turn it into a full investment firm and operate it from here. So I am the president of the Juno Beach, the Seaside of Juno Beach HOA. I am a trustee of the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. I am a corporate member of Juno Beach Civic Association through my business, and I am a supporter of the Juno Beach Police Foundation. With that, my wife and I are licensed foster parents in the state of Florida. We've had a few little kids come through our house, and they spent a bit of time with our son. We've wanted to adopt everyone, but it hasn't quite worked out yet. With that, I'm really hoping you will look at me as someone that can help the town and move things forward. And with that, I appreciate your time and hope you vote for me.
Thank you. We will now have a 3-minute opening statement from Elaine Koutronakis, running for seat 2.
Oh, Elaine, could you unmute your microphone real quick?
Thank you. That was a great start. Good evening. My name is Elaine Koutronakis, and I'm running for Juno Beach Town Council seat 2. I want to thank the Juno Beach Civic Association for hosting this forum. I want to be your voice and someone you can trust to focus on the issues, be transparent, and make our residents the #1 priority. I'm running because of our town is divided and not working efficiently. We can do better, and we must do better. I have lived in Juno Beach for 11 years with my husband Emmanuel and our 2 sons, Zachary and Lucas. My parents live with us, and I'm in a multi-generational home, so it brings a unique perspective to our town. I hold national and local leadership roles at my church, where I've raised millions of dollars for disaster relief and to help people in need. At the Benjamin School, I serve as a liaison between the administration and the parents and the students. In my professional career, I have worked in the banking industry, helping people acquire financing for their homes. I understand budgets and I know customer service. I also worked in the medical field as a liaison between the patients and the doctors. I understand and bridge gaps, and I can bring people together to solve problems. I want to bring these same skills to our town council, to listen to you, our residents, to understand your needs and work together with and fix our problems with civility. I have been an active participant in our community, enjoying our social events like Police Night Out, Oktoberfest, Christmas by the Lake, and participating in town council and planning and zoning events. I have noticed some things I don't like. We have a divided town council. We need to make some changes. My top priorities would be ensuring public safety remains a top priority, manage quality growth to maintain our small town charm, preserve Pelican Lake and our town natural resources, maintain excellence and professional management of our town, and bring unity and restore trust and act with civility on the town council. My campaign has been about listening and doing things better. I have been hosting lakeside chats weekly and meeting with residents and listening to their concerns and issues. I'm listening to our residents. I sent out a survey, and on day one, I got 50 responses. I'm listening to our residents. I'm grateful to have the endorsements of the police, firefighter and paramedics, and residents who want to see change in Juno Beach. Our town can do better. We must do better. I'm asking for your vote in this election to be more effective and improve our civility and do better to serve you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Our next opening statement will be from Diana Davis, running for seat 4, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Civics Association, for sponsoring Candidates Night. I'm running for office to preserve our beautiful, charming seaside community. I've lived in Juno Beach for over 20 years. My husband and I raised our daughter here. We love Juno Beach, and we feel privileged to live here. My professional experience includes being a practicing Florida attorney for 30 years. I'm a small business owner of Legacy Matters, an elder law firm. We provide estate planning and estate administration, and we help families with elder issues such as financing long-term care. I've practiced environmental law in Florida for over 20 years. I worked for Florida Power and Light Company for 16 years. I worked for state government in Tallahassee for 5 years as the Assistant General Counsel of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. I've proven my leadership skills in our community by being the co-founder and the spokesperson for the Juno Beach Ecology Group. The Ecology Group is working cooperatively with the town's government staff to create a better habitat for Pelican Lake. I've demonstrated my ability for forward planning with the major rewrite that I've proposed through the Ecology Group for the conservation element of our town's comprehensive plan. My 5 goals for council are: first, to address our biggest health safety issue, COVID-19. We need to lobby the state and county for more doses for Juno Beach residents, and we need to communicate effectively as to how our citizens can get their vaccines. Second, I pledge to preserve our natural areas, beaches, and parks, and to restore the habitat at Pelican Lake. I am your environmental candidate. Third, we need a long-term strategic plan for our town that provides a vision into the future for 10, 20 years ahead. If you don't know where you're going, we'll never get there. The strategic plan must address quality of life issues such as traffic and conservation of our natural areas. It must address infrastructure needs like faster internet, fiber optics, and it must address smart land use regulations that maintain our walkable, bikeable community, that ensures development is architecturally pleasing and appropriate height and density, and that it provides a benefit for our citizens. Fourth, I'm in favor of open forums and workshops. And fifth, I believe that our government should be transparent and cost effective. I know the issues that our town faces, and I have the skill sets to provide good governance to create solutions. I'm committed to preserving our way of life against unprincipled overdevelopment. I'll be an independent voice on council. Vote for Diana Davis for seat 4. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next opening statement will be from Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat 4, 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, and thank you to the Civic Association for hosting this event. So I'm Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat 4, and yes, Dee Dee is my real name. I was born in the Bronx in New York, raised on Long Island, and I've been a full-time resident of Juno Beach since 2011. My career in New York and here in Florida has been in marketing, communications, and grant writing. I'm self-employed and experienced working for major companies as well as small businesses in the US and internationally. Most notably, I have been on the Juno Beach Planning and Zoning Board since 2017. Of all the candidates for this seat 4, I have the most active experience with the town. I've worked with council and staff for more than 4 years on a wide variety of issues facing the town. I have a proven record of trust in my relationships with council and staff, and they know they can depend on me to provide well-researched and unbiased facts on projects and other issues before us. I have 100% planning and zoning meeting attendance and have attended council meetings continuously for at least 4 years. I have a measurable record of taking action and getting results on behalf of Juno Beach. This includes being on the Juno Beach Landmarks Committee. With that committee, I identified a historic preservation grant for $20,000, which the town received for its landmark signs, which you'll see being put up around town this summer. I am one of 5 co-founding members of the Juno Beach Ecology Group. On behalf of this group and for the benefit of the town, I invited Florida fish and wildlife biologists into the Pelican Lake discussion and helped staff complete the FWC application for aquatic restoration funding. We hope that that application will be funded this summer, and it's something I know a lot of us are looking forward to. I'm running because I love Juno Beach and I have no motive other than to be of service to you and to the town. I'm running to ensure that our environmentally sensitive lands are not sold or developed. My goal is to help guide growth so that it's smart, balanced, and in line with what our citizens want. I'll use my communications background to help the town better inform and listen to you, our citizens, by holding virtual public workshops on development, traffic, and the issues you've told me are so important to you. I will be your voice on town council. If you've seen my yard signs, you've seen my slogan, which is experience, integrity, and commitment. And that is always what you will get from me, 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will have a 3-minute opening statement from Stuart Katz, running for seat 2. Stuart, unmute your microphone.
Thank you. My thanks to the Civic Association for continuing this tradition of hosting candidate debates, particularly in these difficult times. My life has been truly blessed. I had a long and rewarding career as a medical doctor. I was fortunate to be trained at Weill Cornell in New York City and at Harvard. I was a radiologist cross-trained in surgery, and I was one of the pioneers in doing surgery through small holes. I ran trauma for the Hudson River Valley north of New York City before I went into private practice in Southampton, New York, and the East End of Long Island. But the most recent chapter of my life, which began after I retired, has been far more satisfying than I would ever have imagined. I retired from medicine shortly before I moved to town in 2012. Once I did, I took on a new responsibility, that of being a 4-day-a-week caretaker to Max the Spaniel. I learned a lot from Max. I began to look forward to our walks as much as he did. In fact, my involvement with the town literally began at the grassroots level. I discovered how much I enjoyed talking to the people here. I also discovered that I loved living in this town. Gradually, I became more and more drawn into the kinds of events and activities that we have going on in our town. That ranged from a regular participant at Coffee with a Cop to the many holiday celebrations that we have. I am a life member of the Juno Beach Civic Association, and more importantly, as a town council member, I had regular attendance at virtually all their events. Jump ahead to 2018. I had put a full year in on the Planning and Zoning Board that prepared me for the form and responsibility of being on the town council. Since then, I've taken on this responsibility with a real passion and worked hard to serve this community. One example is the story of Town Hall Park. There had been an alcohol detox center on this hill behind it, and the town had ordered the detox center to close. That was purchased by a developer who had the idea of petitioning the town council to sell off the vacant land below it, which had formerly been the site of our old town hall. That developer proposed building 10 condominiums on the combined site. Growing from my career of walking Max the Spaniel, I have learned to enjoy the simple pleasures of meeting and listening to the people in Juno Beach. I appreciate our town's beauty. I have done much over the last 3 years to meet the goals that several of the other candidates propose as future priorities. I ask for your vote to continue the work that I've done for the last 3 years. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And that concludes our opening statements. Questions that have been submitted will now be asked of the candidates. Candidates will have 1 minute each to answer this question. If a candidate wishes to respond to any comments from a previous question, time for that may be used in their answer period for the next question or during the closing statement. Now, many subjects have been addressed by several different residents, and for that reason, I've consolidated those questions. So we'll start out, and as I mentioned, we'll rotate the order of the answer to these questions. We had a number of questions concerning the Waterford expansion. And basically, it boils down to 3 things. Where do you stand on this expansion? Do you support the new design? And what is your position on the annexation by the Waterford of Pleasant Ridge properties? So we'll start out with our first response will be from Elaine Kotranakis.
How much time do we get for this, Roger?
1 minute each. 1 minute per person. You have 1 minute to answer the question.
Sorry. Hello, thank you. So the Waterford. In my opinion, the annexation of the Waterford I support. It is vital to keep the Waterford in town. It is vital to keep our family residents that live at the Waterford together. And it is important to me to have a say in what happens with the neighborhood. And acquiring the land on Pleasant Ridge, annexating that property, it gives us the ability to have a voice. So a project like Lennox doesn't come in and put up another wall right next to us. But the most important thing for the Waterford is to keep our families together, support the residents of Juno Beach, and have a say.
I thank you. As I mentioned, Elaine is running for seat 2 and also running for seat 2. The next responder to that question will be Stuart Katz. 1 minute.
This time I unmuted. With respect to the Waterford, I believe this is a question of the greater good. I voted no against annexation for legal and technical reasons. This is something that we're going to be discussing at the town council meeting tomorrow night. So I want to hold back the legal arguments why I thought it was not in the best interest of Juno Beach to annex the Waterford in August as it had been presented. I've had discussions with the Waterford's leaders. I've had discussions with people from Pleasant Ridge. I had some negotiating sessions with Waterford management. I think we've come up now with a site plan that balances the needs of the neighbors with the needs of the Waterford. And I will summarize by saying that I am prepared to accept annexation tomorrow evening. Ahead of us lies questions of zoning and site plan, which will definitely be more challenging, but I think we'll get there eventually.
Okay, thank you. The next responder will be running for seat 4, Alexander Cook.
Okay, so the Waterford, yes. I've gone over this quite a bit, and I do like the current plan and the plan that they have provided, the most recent form. I believe it creates a good situation for all involved. Pleasant Ridge gets their park. The Waterford gets all the residents to stay on site. For me, one of the biggest issues was traffic. I'm a big proponent of controlling traffic, and I was worried that the Waterford's setup was an intention to build another unit off-site, which would have created an additional traffic nightmare in that area where the Lennox was built. We're looking at busing among other cars going between multiple units. We don't need any more traffic in that area. The Lennox facility is going to create enough traffic.
All right, thank you. Our next responder to that question, also running for seat 4, is Diana Davis.
Waterford. As an attorney focusing on elder law issues, I'm deeply aware of how essential it is for seniors to enter their later years knowing that they will be able to have a continuity of care. Currently, the Waterford has independent living and they have skilled nursing. They don't have the assisted living and they don't have memory care. They want to stay in their homes. There's 300 Juno Beach residents that want to stay in their homes, being surrounded by their friends, their caregivers, and a stable residential environment to bring us the sense of security to them and the peace of mind. So I'm in favor of annexation of Waterford. They are within the town's annexation plan. They've been in the town's annexation plan for decades. And when a property owner submits a plan for annexation, it's typically Juno Beach's response to accept that as a voluntary annexation.
Well, thank you. And the next responder to that question for 1 minute will be Dee Dee Halpern. Dee Dee, unmute. Unmute your microphone.
There we go. Okay. Yes, I am. Now I've got a pop-up message here. I am in favor of the annexation of the property to Waterford. Regarding the expansion, I liked the concept that they presented to us. However, I would like to see the actual site plan before making any detailed comments on that. But overall, I'm for the annexation. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good for our seniors who live there. And I think it'll be good for other members of the community going forward. In the concept plan that I saw, I liked the idea that they were keeping a park for the Pleasant Ridge neighborhood. And I would like to see added green space between existing homes and any new development. But that, again, is for planning and zoning and council to sort out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, which we had several residents ask about, concerns COVID-19. They're asking, has Juno Beach done enough on this? Specifically, I suppose, concerning the vaccine. And also asking, why didn't Juno Beach do more earlier to help residents get the vaccine? And as I say again, there's 1 minute per person. We'll start out. The first answer will be from Stuart Katz, running for seat 2.
All right, I've learned the first thing to do is unmute. At the January Town Council meeting, I added a discussion of COVID-19 vaccine distribution to the agenda. If I hadn't put it on, we wouldn't have talked about it. I had invited Alina Alonso, the face of the vaccine distribution program, or her representative, to show up and give a statement, do a Q&A, but that department refused. I asked the town to put together what's called the POD, a point of, I believe, distribution or dispensary, because if shots were going to be given to individual towns, I wanted us to have an efficient way to deliver it. I don't think the problem really is one of distribution. It's clearly a problem of supply, and there is a limit to the ability of government to influence supply. Our goal is to be sure that if we're given shots, we can give them out efficiently.
Thank you. Next will be Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
So COVID, for the town-based situation, COVID's a tough, it's a problem. It's not that the town did anything wrong in my view. It's that this is more county-based, and that the vaccines themselves, which I know from what I deal with my work, we're moving the transactions behind the scenes on a lot of these things. There just isn't enough coronavirus vaccines out there. And there's been restrictions on who can get them, how they can be delivered, and what can be done about that. So consequently, at this moment, the town is limited in what it can and can't do. You even saw Publix, which was a very large entity, having a big problem making deliveries happen. And it really comes down to the state and county based. Now, I'll do everything in my power to work with the county and state to make things happen as we get into better situations. But for now, the town is limited in power.
Thank you. And next up on that question will be Diana Davis, also running for seat 4.
Thank you. The public system for vaccines is very frustrating and difficult. I've helped neighbors to get onto that system to get registered, people that don't use computers, and it's terrible. I don't know, that get up at 5:30 in the morning and get on, and then by 7:30 you're told there's no supply left. So I would like to see the town do what it can to lobby for additional vaccines for our residents. And the town needs to communicate about the vaccine programs that are out there and that are available, and provide resources if possible, or just even neighbor to neighbor help to get those vaccines. The town needs to communicate with our small businesses. Our small businesses are suffering. We need to promote our small businesses and provide them with information about what federal or state loans might be available, and lessons learned. We can learn the lessons from this pandemic and what we need to do going forward so we can be more efficient in the next time this type of disaster.
Thank you. Now, the next responder to this question for 1 minute will be Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat 4.
Will unmute. Hi. So yes, I think we all agree that it's a supply chain issue. There's a lot of issues with disseminating the vaccine and all of those other things we've all heard about in the news. When it comes to what Juno Beach can do, I think we should be proactive in speaking with county, state representatives and the health departments, and finding out whether or not there's collaborative approaches that are available with Palm Beach Gardens or Jupiter. There's other resources that we could perhaps dig into. I think the town needs to stay vigilant on these other sources and just look forward. I mean, supposing we did get a quantity of vaccine, would we be partnering with Jupiter Medical Center or Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center? We should start looking at what are those dynamics look like? Who might our partners be, and what could we do to facilitate distribution if we do get vaccines, or have another agency willing to partner with us? So I think there's things we can do in the meantime to be proactive and answer some questions.
Thank you. And the final answer to that question will be from Elaine Kotranakis, also running. She's running for seat 2.
Thank you. So yes, COVID maintains to be top priority for most people, especially, in my own home, having my parents. I literally just got home from driving them down to Miami with a carload of seniors. It's not so much what Juno did wrong. Juno did nothing wrong. It's about national supply and having communication between national and state. And then we needed to reach out to the county. After speaking with our staff and learning from Joe that PODs are very difficult to get, we looked at going through the fire department and having county help us out with that. It's just, it's difficult. So Publix, my campaign staff and I, we got up and we helped people get their vaccines. And so it all just starts locally. Gotta help.
Thank you. Okay, the next question we have here also was raised by several residents concerning town manager and town manager government. And they're asking a couple of different things. Number one, should we continue with the town manager form of government or go to a strong mayor government? And then considering that soon there will be a retirement of the town manager and finance director, is there a succession plan for the new town manager, and what qualities should the town be looking for and when it selects a new town manager? Again, these are 1 minute answers, and the first one will be from Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
It is my belief that the town manager position is functional. However, I do believe that it should be a strong mayor scenario. I believe the mayor should be an elected position specifically rather than council based, and your placement is based upon someone who can actually do the managerial functions and oversight. Now, that's not to say that I don't see a need for people to do the work and do things. I'm just, my view is that you put the elected officials in place and they can have both the power to enforce and act on everything that is done for the town's benefit. Having the breakup with the mayor and the town manager is given a little too much leeway in my view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next answer will be from Diana Davis, running for seat 4.
Thank you. I think Joe Lobello does a great job keeping government efficient. We have a balanced budget. We have no debt. We have low taxes. Recently, our millage rate has even been lowered. We have sufficient reserves. I'm in favor of a management form. There has been talk that Joe may retire in the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm not aware of a succession plan in place. I think that that is something that definitely we need to work towards. And we would require a national search for the best candidate, the best talent for that job. It would be nice to hire from within if that's possible, but I think that it would be something that we'd benefit from a nationwide search. But as far as no debt, low taxes, plenty of reserve, I give Joe Lobello big marks, and I think that a strong manager government is important.
Okay, thank you. The next responder for 1 minute will be Dee Dee Halpern, also running for seat 4.
Yes, hi. So I am not opposed to a strong mayor system. I think that there's a lot of advantages to that. I would be open to it, and I would like to see perhaps a referendum to our residents and see how they feel about it, because they would be the voters, obviously. So I am open to a strong mayor, and again, with the succession plan, it's something to keep an eye on. I don't agree that there should be a national search. I think the ideal town manager candidate for when Joe does retire would be somebody local who's familiar with hurricane management, storm management issues, beach management issues, our environmental concerns that are unique to the area. It would be nice to have somebody from our area who's familiar with working with agencies, South Florida Water Management, and the River District and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next responder will be Elaine Kotonakis, running for seat number 2. 1 minute.
Thank you. So we've had this form of government since 1985. It's worked well for us for decades. I think that being appointed by your fellow council members is important. For mayor, it helps build camaraderie. It helps everybody be unified. As far as the town manager and possible retirement, that is happening, and we need to have a succession plan in place. I'd be looking for a new manager to be pretty much just like Joe, honest, transparent, ethical, have high standards, and fiscally conservative. And we need to have somebody with a small town experience, but have a strong leadership role. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question, our responder to that question will be Stuart Katz, running for seat number 2. 1 minute.
Thank you. I have the advantage, I guess, of having worked with Joe very closely over the last 4 years, and Joe is an exemplary town manager. The shift to a strong mayor system really requires that an individual in the town be willing to make being mayor a full-time job. It's worked up, say, in Jupiter Inlet Colony, where there is an individual who really wants to do that sort of thing. But I like the idea of our town council predominantly providing oversight. We are planning for the succession of Joe and for Matt, both of whom have backgrounds in finance. Finance is one of our strongest areas. It's been mentioned that we're debt-free, that we have 1 full year of reserves, as opposed to the federal government that has 1 full year of debt. We will be doing a national search, in my opinion. I think that one candidate should be nominated locally. We have the advantage of being a desirable community, and I think that a very good manager will be wanting to come to work in our town.
Thank you. Okay, our next question concerns traffic, and a number of people did ask about traffic issues. One of them says about a new condos that are facing A1A and US 1 and why there's only one exit and entrance to that. And also basically how to address more traffic volume and traffic speed in residential areas, and link to that whether you favor traffic calming devices. So 1-minute answers, and we'll start with Diana Davis running for seat number 4.
It's a great question. Traffic is a quality of life issue, and traffic's linked to land utilization and density and land use planning. Traffic is also a safety issue. It gets back to creating a long-term strategic plan of where we want to be in the future and getting a plan in place to get us there. Right now, with depending on the road, who owns the road, who manages the road, is how much leeway we have. There's been a traffic study for Mars, which is a problem. That's a Juno Beach owned and Juno Beach managed road. Ellis and Wilson has been a problem for residents, and also US 1 and A1A. We're at Ocean 1, they're putting in a pedestrian crosswalk. There'll be a push button with a light that'll stop traffic so pedestrians can cross the road there. That we'll see how that works, and maybe that'll be a model for other areas where we put in crosswalks.
Thank you. And the next responder for that will be Dee Dee Halpern running for seat 4.
Hi. Yeah, so the traffic is the #1 issue I'm hearing about it when I speak to residents. So I spoke to our police chief Smith about traffic just to get his thoughts, because our police department knows better than anyone where the hot spots are. And it's a challenging issue. Our main thoroughfares are county owned. So what I would do as town councilor would be to coordinate with our county, bring them into the discussion, find out what we can do to remedy some of these hot spots. I'd like our council to work in tandem with law enforcement, which has experience in traffic management, and see if they can together, if all of us together can come up with some good solutions. I think that, speed bumps aren't necessarily feasible. We don't want sign pollution. So it's really going to take a collaborative examination of the hotspots to find solutions.
Thank you. And next up will be Elaine Kontranakis running for seat 2.
Yeah, so I agree. I think we need to coordinate with the county, as our 2 major throughways are county and state owned. We have to definitely slow down the traffic. I'm not opposed to speed bumps and expanding some of our private roads within town that are through streets, because it's very difficult to get through, especially now with the closing of Ocean Drive. It's very difficult to come up Olympus and or Mars. So we need to have some kind of coordination with county and figure it out.
Okay, thank you. And next responder running for seat 2 will be Stuart Katz.
Thank you. The biggest issue with respect to traffic really is Donald Ross Road. This has not been a particularly heavy season for us, and yet last week at about 2:15, in the middle of the time of the theoretical opening and closing of the bridge, traffic was backed up all the way to US 1. I have worked, that was one of my goals for these 3 years, was to talk to the County Transportation Planning Agency to widen Donald Ross roads to 6 lanes from Prosperity Palmwood, where there are 6 going all the way back to I-95, and to continue that to US 1. Phase 1 is funded. Phase 1 will be accomplished. There soon will be 6 lanes of traffic over that bridge, taking us to
Thank you. Your time has expired.
okay, that's great.
Thank you very much. Okay, and next responding to that question, running for seat 4 will be Alexander Cook.
My view on this is very simple. We want to reroute traffic towards US 1. We want all traffic moving on US 1 or closer to the highways. Crosswalks are the key. The Ocean 1 complex, getting a crosswalk is great, but there probably should be more around the park. There should be more with beach access. There should be crosswalks over on Ellison Wilson Road as well. All of these will slow down traffic and move traffic towards US 1, because the cars that fly through these areas don't want to be on these side roads when things get forced on them to slow down. The final item that's a possibility, but would have to be a bit of work, is at the entrance of A1A where the gas station is. That's like a launching pad where people come flying in. If that could be sealed off so people have to take a right turn there, you watch how much the traffic reduces on A1A. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now our next question concerns conservation, and several people asked about that. They want to know your position on protecting the wetlands and also in general preserving areas that are designated as sensitive from development. And we'll start out with the 1-minute answer. The first one from Dee Dee Halpern.
Hi. So yes, conservation is hugely important to our town. We have a legacy of conservation with well over 500 acres of natural areas and environmentally sensitive lands. I've had numerous conversations with Palm Beach County Environmental Resource Management over the past year, and I've been keeping my eye on these lands, looking at some of the leases and seeing which, if any of them, will expire soon. And I know that's a concern to a lot of residents, that when some of these land leases expire, that developers may jump in and try to get a hold of the land. So during one of the planning and zoning meetings, I had asked for an representative to address planning and zoning. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but I am still looking for ways we can work with the county to find out more about these lands. Their preservation is important, and that's my time's up. I could go on forever.
Thank you. Okay, next for 1 minute will be Elaine Kotranakis.
Still got to get used to the unmute. Okay, sorry. So our lands are very important. We must protect our environmental sensitive lands. We must do everything we can to preserve them. I've raised my kids here. I've taken my kids on those trails. It's a piece of Juno Beach that cannot be touched. We need to protect our Pelican Lake. I walk around it daily with my dog and my family, and it's just what we do. It's who we are. Our lands need to be protected. Over 40% of our lands are environmental sensitive lands. Let's work together and preserve them. Thank you.
Okay, and also running for seat number 2 is Stuart Katz, will be our next responder.
Well, first of all, I agree with the entire field that protecting the gift that we received of the environmentally sensitive lands is part of our tradition. And I would argue that we've done that this is just not, well, we've almost done that. We have prepared as a town council a charter amendment, which is on this same ballot, that would require all 5 town council members to vote to change the status of the environmentally sensitive lands. That's an extraordinarily high bar, and if the people approve that, I believe that the environmentally sensitive lands are protected. With respect to Pelican Lake, I, along with Dee Dee and Diana, have been closely involved and a charter member of the Juno Beach Ecology Group. I think that we're making an incredible transformation from a lake that looks pretty to a lake that is environmentally balanced. And I really think it's one of the achievements of our last 3 years.
Thank you. And next up on that question, running for seat number 4, is Alexander Cook.
As with everyone else, I wish to protect preserves and major natural spaces. I am a conservationist. I do believe in protecting a lot of these lands. It is actually my view that the amendment number 3 doesn't go far enough. As far as protection of preserves, it shouldn't even be allowed to come to a vote, because you can get a situation where 5 people can decide that's not in the best interest of the individuals that live there. As a businessman, I deal with developers, major politicians, and a lot of business types. And I have stood them down in the past, and I don't have a problem doing it in the future. I believe in controlled, appropriate development. Preserves are not controlled, appropriate development. I support moving us into the future, but messing with the preserves is not moving us into the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And final answer to that, also running for seat number 4, will be Diana Davis.
I pledge to preserve our precious natural areas, beaches and parks, and for the habitat restoration of Pelican Lake. The Juno Dunes natural area is over 550 acres of conservation lands, and it's owned by the state of Florida and the county, and it's managed by lease to the county. And that lease is for the county to manage those lands under a permit with Florida Department of Environmental Protection. I was with Florida Department of Environmental Protection in Tallahassee as Associate General Counsel, and I'm in a good position to help preserve those lands. The lease that's scheduled to expire in 2047 is the management lease. This year, they're doing a survey to make sure that the species that are being protected and that they deserve additional permits and moving forward with the management plan for the next 10 years.
Thank you. Okay, our next question actually is related to that previous question, and that concerns development. As several people have asked, what is your position on trading off building heights for density? And then also several people asked about land that's vacant at the corner of Donald Ross Road and US 1. They mentioned that a grocery store has been proposed there, and what your position is, or what other projects you might want to see on that property. And we'll start out with our first responder. These again for 1 minute is Elaine Kotranakis, running for seat number 2.
Thank you. So development and growth is inevitable. We need to have a unified council who can come together to make our zoning and make sure that everything that comes is code and zoning sufficient. We need to make sure that whatever comes stays within our charm of Juno Beach, small town. We got to watch our density. As far as, variance and heights and all that comes through zoning. We have a great plan to start with as far as height restrictions and stuff like that. Let the developers come, give us their ideas, and then we can go back to them and just make sure we hold firm to what our codes and zoning laws say. Just protect our small town charm with our decision.
Okay, next responder, also running for seat number 2, Stuart Katz.
Okay, unmuted again. When it comes to development, and when it comes to development, let me simply say that we have a zoning code, and we have been trying to keep that zoning code tight. That puts limits on height and density. The only way I would relax that would be if we are able to reduce the median age of our population by encouraging executive assistants, say from FPL, firemen, police, teachers, to live in our town. We could conceivably increase density in that way. But in general, I strictly believe in the zoning code. We're going to have to make some differences perhaps along US 1, but I think US 1 is unique in our town.
Okay, thank you. And next on that will be Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
So very simply put, no high rises. We don't need to turn into Miami North. I do wish to see that plot of land on Donald Ross developed. However, my view is that that could be the entryway to the town, and we could have something similar to Worth Avenue. We could see something along the lines of a beautiful shopping center on the first floor with high-end condominiums on the next couple floors, maximizing it 4 floors in total. You know, restaurants, things that will draw people to the town for tourism business, things that will keep the citizens in town going to restaurants and things rather than going outside of town. And, you know, I do, again, controlled, appropriate development. This is a beach town. We can't be overrun. We can't be built up. We can't have massive high rises. We're limited in the space and land we have. It needs to be used to the highest, best quality that can support the lifestyles that we have here.
Thank you. Okay, next up on that one, also for seat number 4, is Diana Davis.
I want to backtrack a bit for the Juno Beach natural area. We have to stay vigilant so that the Juno Dunes natural area is not developed, even though it's in conservation and it has the environmental sensitive land zoning on it. We do have to watch that. We propose something in the conservation section of the comprehensive plan that's going to go to public workshop. The corner of US 1 and Donald Ross Road, that's the most important corner in our town. It's the gateway to Juno Beach. When you drive over the Donald Ross Bridge, you should feel a sense of wonder that you've arrived in Juno Beach. I think what we put there is very important. It should have appropriate architecture, appropriate height and density, and setbacks so we could have park areas. This important decision, we need to solicit public opinion for the land use there and the architectural styles. We need to have public workshops and open forums where we can discuss what's the best for our residents in this location. We should be proactive in deciding what we want and don't wait for the developers to come to us.
Thank you. And final on that answer will be Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat 4.
I spoke about this in one of the emails that I sent to residents. Rather than be reactive to whatever development proposals come our way, I believe town council must be proactive in creating a unified vision that defines the look, feel, and functionality we as a community want for this gateway intersection. It doesn't mean we have to only stick to this plan, but I think we need a broad guiding vision and that guides development in a smart and sane and safe way rather than allowing developers to guide us. I believe together we should create on focusing a gateway that gives residents and visitors a destination to explore and enjoy. My goal is to see the creation of a walkable, bicycle-friendly, safe corridor that showcases our small businesses and represents who we are as a town. I would like to see public workshops, perhaps the use of the Transportation Planning Authority as an assisting tool.
Thank you. Okay, the next question addressed by several people, and I know some of the candidates have already mentioned this in their opening statements, but perhaps we could all elaborate on it, is what are your top priorities? What immediate issues or policies would you want to address? So we'll start out again with 1-minute answers. First one from Stuart Katz, running for seat 2.
Okay, is that the magic unmute? In my opinion, the development of public forums in the last couple of years has been the biggest step forward that we have had in creating a third layer between the people and the town council. Instead of things just going to planning and zoning, many issues like the Fertilizer Friendly Act actually went through the ecology-based community workshops. So I'm a big favorite. I like workshops. I have asked for the town council to have 2 meetings per month, one a formal session and one an informal session. And if there's some discussion about divisiveness or difficulty or the council not working together, I really believe if we had an informal workshop session, a lot of our differences would get ironed out at that time. So for me, that's been my #1 source of pride. There's certainly issues of master planning. That's my goal.
Okay. Next up on that question, running for seat number 4 is Alexander Cook.
So my biggest items are the infrastructure. We need to control the incoming traffic. It's only going to get worse. There's a lot of people moving here, a lot of businesses moving here. So that is one of my key items. Secondly, the protection of the preserved lands, controlled development, like I've said, appropriate and controlled development. And finally, on the budget matters, everybody talks about how wonderful the town is on its budget, debt-free, and that we have all this money in the bank. We have a lot of things that need a lot of work around this town, and you should be spending this money to fix these things and work on these things in town while we have the opportunity. And you should finance them if necessary. Interest rates are zero. Use other people's money when you can fix things. A zero budget or positive budget is not fiscally responsible in a zero rate environment.
Okay, thank you. And next on that question, running for seat number 4, is Diana Davis.
Hi, we need a long-term strategic plan for Juno Beach that looks 10 to 20 years in the future, and it addresses quality of life issues such as traffic and our conservation areas. We need high-speed internet in Juno Beach. We need fiber optics, and our long-use strategic plan needs to address smart land use strategies so that we maintain for quality development, and so that we maintain our walkable, bikeable communities, and pleasing architecture, appropriate height and density, and so that any new buildings will benefit our Juno Beach residents. We need a procedure to incorporate citizens' input into council making decision. I favor the open forums and workshops where council staff and citizens can have an open dialogue to reach consensus on issues. The Pelican Lake workshops are a very good example of what we could be doing. And this probably should be a monthly meeting that we have other than the voting meeting for town council.
All right, thank you. And next on that will be Dee Dee Halpern, also running for seat number 4.
Yes, hi. With my background in communications and public relations, I would like also to see more public input, whether through surveys or workshops. On a personal level, if I'm elected, I'll do a monthly newsletter to residents, keeping them updated on everything you need to know that's important, so that you're always in the loop and that you never feel left out of important issues, and no one should ever have to wonder, hey, where did that come from and how come I didn't hear about that before? I've heard a lot of people talking about drainage issues here on Ocean Drive, not just in front of the waterfront building, but there's other drainage issues that residents have brought to my attention. And even on planning and zoning, I'm still going to work with staff and address some of those issues, in the coming weeks. I believe we need a vision plan for that Donald Ross US 1 intersection, and parking is another issue. So.
Thank you. And finally, on that question, 1 minute, running for seat number 2 is Elaine Kotranakis.
Thank you. So I did touch upon those in my opening. I'll just reiterate that ensuring public safety is key. With new developments coming in, the Lenox in North Palm, unincorporated, our new developments within the town, and then the corner of US 1 and Donald Ross, and future developments, it's important that we maintain our safety in this community that we've come to know and trust and love. We need a succession plan for when our town manager and our finance director have entered the drought period. When they leave, we need a succession plan. We need to do that now. We need to start looking forward and knowing what is going to happen there. And we need to continue to have a voice of the people. I'm going to continue my Lakeside Chats if I'm elected, and I want to hear from them and be their voice and be able to carry that through to the council.
Okay, thank you. The next question, which was also posed by several residents, concerns power lines, and they ask, should these power lines be put underground? And we'll start out with seat number 4, Alexander Cook, for 1 minute.
As one of the people that has these power lines right on top of my house, I can tell you first and foremost that they are dangerous. We call the fire department fairly rarely. When it rains, they spark and they fire up in front of our trees. I do believe that the power lines should be moved towards US 1 and the rest be run underground. You'll find that most of the other towns that are successful around here have done this. It is a necessity for the future. It is needed to both create a more successful and useful system, but also increase safety and functionality. Not to mention the fact that the Jupiter area has the lines already running on US 1, and for some reason they decided to run them right up Ocean Drive the minute they hit Juno Beach. So these are things that should have been planned for in the beginning and already done, but now we have to deal with them. So we're going to have to work to make this happen.
Thank you. Next will be Diana Davis, running for seat number 4.
The transmission lines on Ocean Drive A1A are ugly. They're very ugly. Town council did complete a preliminary survey, and the dollars to move the lines were extremely high. It was over $20 million. And this is a perfect example why we need a long-term strategic plan that looks down 10 and 20 years, because the price of moving the power lines was influenced because FP&L had already hardened those lines to protect against wind load. And so it was going, so that added to the cost if we do decide to move them. This is also something that we need to take to a public forum so we can have a dialogue on with town staff and council members and citizens before we commit to this huge sum of money. And some do say the interest rates are the lowest now, so it's a good time to do this project, but it would require surveying residents and a referendum vote to commit such a huge amount of money.
Thank you. Next on that question will be Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat number 4.
Yeah, hi. So I look back to 2019 when those numbers were presented to town council by FPL's Director of External Affairs, and I spoke with him last week. The 2019 figure was $18,010,375, and that estimate was only for the wood distribution lines, feeders, and laterals. Undergrounding or relocating the concrete transmission lines, he said, would be at an additional cost. So we wouldn't really be getting rid of those cement poles in an undergrounding project initially, unless we chose to spend more to move the transmission lines to US 1 or underground them on ocean. I don't know that the spending on this is prudent at this time. It's worth exploring and letting our citizens decide if this is something they want when we have updated figures for 2021. So I'd be open to a workshop or further exploration of this, but it should be a group decision.
Thank you. Next on that, running for seat number 2 will be Elaine Kotranakis.
So this issue needs to be carefully reviewed and look at the details and the cost. There's two main reasons to bury utility lines. One is to prove aesthetics, and the other is for safety. So it comes at a hefty price tag. So before we would do anything, we would definitely need to have a robust conversation with our residents and get their input on it, and get public discussion and get firm numbers, because we don't have those yet. Everything we have is just a concept. So before we can go any further, I think we need to have firm numbers, have details, and get input from our citizens.
Okay, thank you. And now to answer that question, also running for seat number 2 is Stuart Katz.
Well, this has come up before the town council. In fact, we were able to commission a report from Tom Bradford to talk about the pros and cons of undergrounding. And I thought that was a great first step. And one of my disappointments on the council is that we just dropped the football for the last year and a half on that particular topic. My opponent likes to talk about unity on the town council. And I really think it goes down to, we have a progressive wing that likes to think ahead and plan ahead. And then we have a reactive wing, which was the majority. It's the reason why the mayor, the vice mayor, and the mayor pro tem were the same for the last 3 years. Undergrounding is an expensive project, but as Alex says, and Alex is really our best source on money, if ever there's a time to borrow money, for a generational improvement, this is the time. This must come before referendum vote. The town council could put it on as a referendum, but ultimately this decision is made by the people.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next question concerns the positions of mayor and vice mayor. As we all know, the mayor and vice mayor are selected by votes of the town council. And several people have asked, should these positions be rotated among the council members? In other words, instead of just being necessarily the same person each time, just rotate them among the council. And we'll start out with the first answer. Running for seat number 4 is Diana Davis.
It's an interesting question, the mayor and vice mayor, and whether they're voted on by the council members or rotating. And I think that has something to do with the divided council. I would be in favor of rotating the mayor and the vice mayor and on some routine basis. With our current system of government, the mayor's position, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. And the next answer will be from Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat number 4.
Yeah, hi. I wouldn't be opposed. I think that would be fine to rotate, figure out what kind of term limit would be acceptable or preferable, whether it would be annual or longer than that. I would be open to rotating those positions of mayor and vice mayor. If we had a strong mayor system, I think that would solve that problem, would be voted in. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And next answer will be from Elaine Kotranakis, running for seat number 2.
I support the current form of government and its processes. I think the mayor is elected or selected yearly by its peers, by the council. I think it's important for people on the council to garner consensus and work together. So.
Okay, thank you. Next will be Stuart Katz, also running for seat number 2.
Well, I strongly believe in rotating our officers because I, in fact, have been put onto the minority side of this council for 3 straight years. The mayor has been the mayor for 3 years. The vice mayor has been the vice mayor for 3 years. The mayor pro tem was the mayor pro tem for 3 years. If we talk about a divided council and people not acting in unison, it's because we definitely have proactive people on one side and reactive people on another side. So I'd love to see us rotate our mayor, and I've already said that I oppose a strong mayor system because the function of running a government is well done by our town manager system. I think unless someone was willing to become a full-time mayor and drop their employment, it's impossible to do the job correctly.
Okay, thank you. And the next answer for that will be from Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
Strong believer in term limits. I'm not against anybody in the position, and whoever is in there right now. I believe that you gain perspective, though, by getting rotated through. So it is my view that you could vote the same person as mayor for 2 years, maybe even 3 years. But I believe that at that point, they have to become back down as a standard council member or one of the other positions for the next year. And maybe, then they can get voted back again into the mayor position at a later point. You need to have people getting perspective and rotation in this. It can't just be, I'm mayor because this group votes me as mayor from every year until eternity. It's not that we wouldn't vote that person back in a year later. It's that they get perspective from being pulled back from mayor every so many years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question we had from several people concerned council meetings and particularly their timing. One person noted that there's an ordinance that says that council meetings must end at 11 p.m. and said that many meetings have been stopped with unfinished business and wonders whether that ordinance should be repealed. Someone else asked whether there should be a new time limit for council meetings and have that enforced. So we'll start out with the first answer from Dee Dee Halpern for seat number 4.
Yeah, prior to that ordinance, I was attending council meetings, and it's a lot. Some of those meetings went till at least midnight, and I didn't need to be there, but I held out and I stayed, and it's a lot. And I can see how council would reach some level of burnout after a 7 or 8 hour meeting of important topics that are being covered. So I understand where the limit came from, but on the other hand, I also see the frustration. There were topics that we didn't get to, or the council didn't get to, and those wind up being put on the next agenda. So there's pros and cons to both. That would be something I would be open to discussing with the other council members and seeing what decision we feel would be most productive on the whole for the agenda and for residents.
Okay, thank you. Next on that will be Elaine Kotranakis running for seat number 2.
I think it's important to ensure efficiency and timeliness in meetings to keep the ordinance in place. It helps with transparency and public input from our citizens, because a lot of our population is seniors, and quite honestly, it's even late for me. And don't forget that most people have day jobs, including our town staff that have to be there. So it makes for a very long day, and it's important to hear input from the citizens. And if you run much later, you're not going to be able to get their voices heard.
Okay, thank you. Next on that will be Stuart Katz, also running for seat number 2.
All right, so I bring to this the perspective of having been on the town council. And I will tell you that when you begin a meeting at 5:30 and it approaches 11 o'clock, we tend to act not as intelligently, let's say, as we would if we were fresh. So I don't think that the 11 o'clock cap should be repealed. What I think is that we should have an informal workshop meeting, and we should have a formal town council meeting every month. The real reason why we fell so far behind had to do with our initial response to the coronavirus outbreak back in March, April, May of last year. In March, we had a live meeting. I said we needed to have a virtual session because we were breaking every CDC rule that had suddenly come up. In April, we had a Zoom meeting to decide whether we should have Zoom meetings. By May, we had gotten ourselves back on track. So I believe that the reason why we had so much unfinished business.
Thank you. The time has expired.
Oh, I wasn't looking, sorry.
Okay. Next on that will be Alexander Cook running for seat number 4.
I'd rather see interim meetings set up as necessary than canceling an 11 p.m. Curfew. You know, people get tired, people work a lot. Going to 11 o'clock, you lose, after 11 o'clock, you lose efficiency, you lose focus. If you miss an item that doesn't work out, that we can't fit in, I'd rather see an interim situation set up, or I understand the moving it to the next meeting. You know, everything can't be covered on any given moment. You can't plan for every possibility, but you can figure on the fact that the later you get in the night, the more likely the decisions that are made are not going to be in the best interests of the town residents and our neighbors. So the 11 o'clock situation, I think, should stay. Thank you.
Okay, and finally on that question, we have Diana Davis running for seat number 4.
I agree that 11 o'clock is a good rule, and that the council meeting should not be extended past 11 o'clock. It's the sunshine laws that prevents council members from talking to one another outside of the town council meetings or outside of a public workshop or one of the board meetings. So that's what requires that's what I believe makes the meeting so long, because in order to have dialogue and to express your opinions and to potentially change minds from the dais, it takes a while to express these. There's a lot of backup material that comes with for the issues that are before town council. Council members could write out their opinions and provide that as backup material. That might make the council meeting shorter, but for the public participating, then you'd almost have to read that into the record at the public workshop. At the town council meeting. I think that we need more informal meetings with town council, town staff, and citizens and to hold these regularly so
Okay,
that we
thank
can
you.
get that input.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have time for just one more question before we go into our closing statements. And that is, what are your plans to handle water drainage issues along Ocean Drive? And we'll start with Elaine Kotranakis.
Is this 2 minutes, Roger?
Number 2.
Is this a 2-minute response, Roger?
No.
Okay, 1 minute. Thank you.
So for the drainage issues, anyone who drives up and down our streets knows that we have some drainage issues. We definitely need to work with county and figure out a way to remedy the situation. And our council needs to work together and figure out how to do that.
Okay, thank you. The next responder, also running for seat number 2, will be Stuart Katz.
The town does have major water drainage issues, the worst of which is over on Universe Boulevard, frankly. There is a $2 million grant application that has been repeatedly rejected for improvements in that area. And frankly, that's our worst drainage area. The south end of Zenith is being dealt with actively as a drainage issue. I raised the issue of drainage problems between 700 and 800, probably based on the new construction across the street 2 years ago. And I think it's a demonstration of the difficulty of the town government working with the county government to effect a solution on that road. But it has definitely been a frustration as far as drainage is concerned. Those are simple sumps. They do not connect to each other and then ultimately drain to a different source.
Okay, thank you. The next responder on that will be Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
So we have a high water table here, as most of you knew. We're pretty close to the sea. So there's always going to be some sort of drainage issue. The best we can do with this is to expand sewer lines and drainage lines. Now, one of the problems that occurred in the past is developments that are put in that are larger than should be, oftentimes sneak by without getting proper sewage plans put in place. This is where a lot of this drainage comes from, going back many years. Going forward, we have to make sure that all plans that are done with all major developments include some sort of a cost situation to cover potential drainage planning issues. Now, Ocean Drive, or Ocean 1, the new complex, is putting in the new lines over there for their drainage. But there should be more done in the future on the other side of US 1 as well.
Okay, thank you. Our next responder will be Diana Davis, candidate for seat 4.
There is a drainage problem on Ocean Drive, A1A, in front of Waterford Condominium. I talked to Tony Murricone about the drainage issue there. I thought the county had an outside engineering firm that had completed a study there. The concern that I've gotten from a lot of citizens regarding A1A Ocean Drive was paving, because it's so bumpy from Donald Ross going south. But prior to that new paving coming in, we have this flood project, and the flood, there's an outside engineering company that's completed a study. The surface water runoff from rain events has to percolate, go through French drains. It has to be treated to remove pollutants, or it has to have a drainage system in place that helps to remove the pollutants prior to those going into Pelican Lake. But drainage is a huge issue and it's very expensive. So it's something that needs to go into our long-term planning. But this area is being addressed.
Okay, thank you. Our final responder to that question will be Dee Dee Halpern, also for seat number 4.
Yeah, hi. Going back to the drainage issue in front of the waterfront building, my understanding from Tony Mariano is that county engineers have come up with a proposal for how to solve that drainage issue, and they presented it to the town, our town's engineers, and there will be some dialogue back and forth over the next 6 months. The goal is to try to incorporate drainage solutions for that spot into the repaving of Ocean Drive so that it's all taken care of at the same time, and with consideration of how it could potentially affect runoff into Pelican Lake. I found several grants on the website, and those are for stormwater runoff and drainage for projects that are already in the works, and I believe we should look further into those. Some of the drainage problems come from isolated look at each project, but not in the larger context of the area's
Thank you.
existing problems.
I thank you. This concludes our question period, and I want to thank all the residents who submitted questions. We tried to get to as many of them as we can, certainly. The candidates will now have 2 minutes each to make their closing statements, and the first one will be from Stuart Katz, running for seat number 2. Unmute yourself, Stuart.
Yeah, it's just didn't respond. I position myself as the candidate of experience and vision. I think experience is very important. I do not believe that the position of town council should be filled by someone who has no experience in the process of government and someone who doesn't have a breadth and depth in the community, things like the Civic Association, coffee with the cops. So in my opinion, accessibility has been my key point. I'm the only member of the town council who puts their personal email and their personal cell phone number on their official town card. I do respond to emails and I do respond to phone calls. I'm the only member of the town council who believes in term limits. I won't go into the details of my plan, but three terms is what I like. I ask, why aren't we proactive? Why, when we opened up several of our streets to put in new water lines, why didn't we put gas mains in at the same time? I don't think we should be doing things as one-offs. I think we should be doing things with master planning. The Route 1 corridor has an extremely large white right-of-way, and I think we should be turning that into a bicycle-friendly, parking-friendly, community-friendly area and still maintain 2 lanes of traffic each way. As far as the council not being unified, I think democracy is based upon having different opinions. We clearly have a side that responds to the proposals that are put in front of it. My position is different. My position is it's important for me to make relationships with those people who own those properties, and that's something that I've tried very hard to do. Being on the council has made that much easier.
Thank you. And our next closing statement will be Dee Dee Halpern, running for seat number 4.
So thank you for the time for doing this. I'm just happy with this. It was great to hear everybody's input, and I think this is in the end going to make us all stronger. So again, my experience, following on what Stuart said, I consider myself the incumbent being on planning and zoning. I have the experience to hit the ground running on day one. I have a track record of good, productive relationships with council. They all know that I'm a unifier. They know I'm a team player. They know I work my ass off and I try really hard in everything that I do. I'm constantly researching things and bringing facts and information to staff. It doesn't always wind up in the activity report, and it's not always received to a big fanfare, but I'm behind the scenes and I'm trying really my best for everyone for the past few years, and anybody that knows me knows the amount of effort that I've put into the ecology group and the landmarks committee and going to council meetings and just bringing suggestions to the town that I think will be of a benefit for everybody. And I don't ask for credit. I enjoy seeing things getting done. I love this town and I love all of you. So I'm really happy I got through this without passing out. And vote for me and you won't be sorry. You'll get a lot. You'll get my 24/7 attention. Thank you.
I thank you. And our next closing statement will be from Diana Davis, running for seat number 4.
I'm the best candidate for seat number 4 for 3 reasons. I've lived here for over 20 years. I know the issues that are faced by the town, and I am integrated in the community. Secondly, as a 30-year Florida attorney with experience in elder law and environmental law and who has worked in state government, I have the professional experience and knowledge base that will make me effective immediately on council. Working for a Fortune 500 company and as a small business owner who works with families to plan for their future, I know how important it is to have a vision of where we're going in the future and the need to make a plan to get there. I know the town needs a long-term strategic plan. We don't have one. I have the skills necessary to lead our town in the efforts to create a strategic plan that looks into the future 10 and 20 years. I'm in favor of formalizing a process that provides an opportunity for public input through open forums to discuss important town issues and development of policy for a vision to create the town's future. My environmental law experience makes me the perfect candidate to work with the county who manages our environmental sensitive lands in the Juno Dunes natural area to ensure they remain conservation lands and are not gobbled up by unprincipled developers. Third, I've demonstrated my ability to lead and my ability to promote teamwork within our community as the co-founder and spokesperson for the Juno Beach Ecology Group. We are working with town council, town staff, and citizens in an open forum through the Pelican Lake workshops to resolve issues for the implementation of a more biological approach to management of Pelican Lake. I'm humbled by the endorsements of the professional firefighters and paramedics of Palm Beach County and the Police Benevolent Association. They represent our frontline workers. They interviewed all 3 candidates for seat 4, and they said I was the most qualified due to my professional experience and my research and how I answered their questions. I vote for Diana Davis.
Okay, our next closing statement will be from Elaine Kotonakis, running for seat number 2.
Well, thank you very much to the Juno Beach Civic Association, to all the panelists, and to all the residents who are watching tonight. During my campaign, I've tried really hard to reach as many Juno Beach residents as possible. Meeting you by email, phone, at your front door, by a survey, or in person at Pelican Lake during my lakeside chats, it has brought me so much joy and given me so much energy. I will always strive to be your voice on the council and be a strong, independent leader who will stand by my convictions. I'm invested in keeping Juno Beach the gem that it is and maintaining our small town charm. All my life, I've been working hard. I believe in ethics, I'm transparent, and I'm collaborative. I study the issues, listen to people, and then stand by my convictions with respect. I work to form consensus and get the job done. As your council person, I will put you first, and I will treat you all like you're part of my family. I hope to earn your vote and your trust on March 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final closing statement will be from Alexander Cook, running for seat 4.
Well, I do hope to earn your vote as well. So I am campaigning completely independently and self-funded. I do not accept endorsements. I do not seek endorsements. I do not seek contributions. I do not seek money. I am a truly independent candidate who will get into the seat not owing allegiance to any third parties. As many of you may know, the endorsements all come with strings attached. I'm very proud to say there are no strings on me. I am completely uncontrolled and free to work in the best interests of all of you. I am a strong believer in ethics. My whole firm exists because of ethics. I write about ethics. I only operate in the best interests of those I am entitled to work for. My duty to you is what I am here for. I am looking to to support this town well into the future. My young family is here. I have a young son. We're growing up here. We're going to be here for many, many years. We're very happy to be here. I also believe that I bring a complementary addition to the current council. We already have lawyers on the council. We have medicine. We have insurance and real estate. I bring the massive financial background and technology background that doesn't have any equals in my seat. There are few that can compare with what I can bring to the table as far as financing and dealing with the financial matters. I can read budgets. I run a small business that is a institutional wealth firm. I have to manage taxation, risk management, employees, and independent contractors. I've done all these things extremely successfully. I've been very successful in my career. I've been very successful in life, and I'm self-made. I'm very proud to say that I built everything with my wife. And we're very happy to be here in Juno Beach. I hope I gain your vote. I'm really looking forward to working on the council for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to thank all the candidates for their participation and the Juno Beach Civic Association for sponsoring this forum. And I would like to thank all of you and the public for participating online. By my count here that I see at the bottom of the screen, we had about 86 people in the audience, which is very good because I'm told that the town council chambers where we hold the live events holds 80 people. So we did at least as well as we have done when we had the live events. So this was a unique forum, and I thank you for participating. Now, all these races that you heard tonight will be on the March 9th ballot, and I urge everyone to exercise their right to vote. Thank you and good evening.